can you help me get this together? I think part of my problem is that there's so much negative news tied to the good stuff. And you can't get to the good stuff until you get the negative out of the way, because your paradigms are wrong and our values are so out of line. And I want to explain that. And then I look at myself and I go, oh gosh, I've got some psoriasis, and which is nothing but stress. We all know that. I've never had skin breakouts. So I've got to get back on my regime of taking care of my skin, which means cod liver oil, and some other good things. But let's get going. Here are some of my investigative protocol. Let's see. Can you see this? Let me see if I can turn it. Nope, I can't turn it around. I'll get better at this. All right. Here's some of the tools I use. Investigative protocol. What's in it for you, the audience? The best answer is always a question. Truth is freedom. Don't quit looking. Investigate every question. There's nothing new under the sun. Let the buyer beware. Chronology, calendars, and timelines are the only good reconciliation. Learn isometrics and check on those. Look up personal accounts and diaries, and never devalue diaries and literature with little hints. Myths, stories, music, and art all contain incredible clues to truth. Symbolism, gematria, numerology, language, astronomy, codes, astrology. Oh, there's so many ways that all those in the past have communicated with us. To keep the big picture in mind, to stay focused on the goal, and to consider all the different views, to be aware of perspective. Awareness is key in everything. It is the consciousness. We can choose to be proactive or reactive about everything. And remember that the controllers do the programming. The teachers are the ones that hold the narrative and communicate the narrative most effectively. And it's usually done in a system. The goal of anyone in charge is always to divide and conquer. Books, education, and history has all been incredibly manipulated to pull this off, to keep sheep. Experiments, simulations have been going on for years and years. We just aren't aware of them, but the info's out there. We've got to be constantly aware to use our intuition, discernment, wisdom, and we can use those when we're in charge of our habits, our behavior, and when we have a strategy. Does that look backwards? Maybe I'll let you see all that backwards. I don't know. Never give up, never slow down. I learned something last night. You might remember that I told you that in 1871 we lost the Constitution virtually because they set up their own system through the District of Columbia. And it was called, I think, the Act of 1871. I have copies of it, and I'll get those out before I quit. And I learned another thing last night because other people are now uncovering that same information. And law, LAW, stands for the people in charge have control of land, air, and water. And it was interesting because I used to say, God told me, meaning my spirit led me, because I don't know where else it would have come from, other than now I'm understanding that my expectations and my visuals allow me to walk in the path of my thinking and my conviction when it's real. And so I'm seeing that this supernatural path that I've been on is supernatural because I manifest it by believing that there's truth to be found, because I'll never settle. I'm such a combination of flaky disorders, or I was, but everything I am works for my good. You get that? I don't care what someone titles it. I know who I am. I really do. Now, maybe for the first time. And I'm a person of great conviction, and I'm this kind of person that if I go put a piece of paper in a file and maybe I don't stick the file back down right, it'll haunt me. And I'll have to go back and do it. But at the same time, if I decide I'm going to write a letter and I see a plant needs watering, and then that leads to the tree, and that leads to the weeds, and that leads to the trash can needs watering out, I haven't given a thought to where I'm supposed to be. And so visualization is so key. And as I look back, I know that's the reason for every single success I've ever had. It's in my ability to imagine. And I have a great imagination, and it works on my behalf so powerfully. Does it yours? We need to learn to encourage our imagination, our inspiration. These days, well, particularly me, we're bombarded with news. I don't watch the TV. I haven't watched the news since I got irked because they're all owned by the same people. That was before I realized everything was in the control of one person or the controllers. But I don't listen to that crap. I quit religion, all of it. I quit politics, all of it. I quit nationalism, all of it. What do I believe? I believe in humanity. I believe in nature. I believe in what I can see, feel, touch, sense, imagine, understand. I believe what the books confirm. The literature, some great literature. Great literature. Oh my, just incredible stuff. You wouldn't believe what you can find out. And the old is the best. First on the Moon, the Roman Empire, Essentials of Histology. That's been a wonderful book. Two Suns Rising, Sacred Writings, Men of Science in America. That led me to so much truth. Shakespeare, Alaska, that's a key. And then the kings and queens. I've been studying ancestry and found out that these suckers are my ancestors. And at first I was so excited to tell everybody that. Oh my gosh, I thought I was this Appalachian waif. Although I knew there was class in my family, I just thought, I was this waif. I was the oldest of 7 children by a 13-year-old mom and a 17-year-old father, and I just felt like I was born to walk crooked. A mountain girl, and that was my image. And it wasn't, that was the best of it. But I faked it. I got through the 80s faking it and using whatever was out there. But I know the key was always my imagination. That's what I want to help you with, because I'm good at that. One thing I'm not good at is organizing my mind. I am awesome with organizing information. Like I've got all these books organized, and I've gone, like when I read something and I've got notes in it, or I've got pictures to take in it, and these are all my Indian things, which, oh my God, how cool is that to understand that? That's a great book. And this disaster book is a recent one, which doesn't include anything true. It includes some truth, but not nearly what you're going to find if you look at an old book, right? One of my very favorite books of all time is that book. It's just amazing. All this are files of injustices in the prison system, which I've been fighting too. And digging up all this negative stuff makes it really hard to stay positive, but I know that it's a necessary evil. That until we face ourselves and look in that mirror and see what's there, not what people have said is there, not what our DNA says, not what our ancestry says, but when we look at it and see what's there for real, the power. Where does the power come from? From knowing that it's there. And we've forgotten. We've been sheep on purpose. Of course, it was by design. We're not stupid. We know what to do if we want to manipulate people. I'm a great manipulator, and so are you. We're all good manipulators when it comes to getting what we want. And unfortunately, we've been in a caste system for ages, earth ages. There's good news, though. We can learn to work within the construct. We have these gifts, human endowments, that allow us to visualize, to control our thinking, to create habits of health and wealth. We have everything we need for today, for tomorrow, just as we did yesterday. It's just a matter of how we apply it. And if we take good care of ourselves so that we have the energy to move forward, that's key. If there's one thing more important than anything else, I'm trying to make this thing work. My mouth is so dry. If there's one thing most important, it's our self-image. I say that and I look at myself, and I've always had long hair, and I love long hair. And I don't know what in the world to do with this hair. But it's helped me to be more humble, and it helped me to come to the realization that I'm not going to be who I am and do what I'm called to do if I'm hung up about how I look or how I feel. Those are insignificant things. And the minute we walk into it, it's not a problem anymore. Do you remember the Harry Potter thing? And they had to get to the train, and you had to walk into the wall. But it was believing that you could. And then they did. It's believing that we can. And the only way we can believe that we can is if we know who we are and what's inside us. I don't care who's in control of this big game. I don't care. All I care about is learning to use this empowered, magical, supernatural, highest creation of God called Cindy. I have been learning all about myself all my life, but just recently I invented this system to help me understand better, because everything's coming together for me for the first time. I'm understanding how everything connects. It's really like a giant mushroom field. Underneath everything, everything, we're connected. And it might not look like it on top, right? It's like making a quilt. And you see some of the stitches, but you don't see all of them, right? But they're all there. And so is that string theory? I don't know. I don't care what name or who says it's real. Hello, Wallace. Here's my Wallace. Why? What are you doing? Say hi. Look here. Oh, gonna go get a squirrel. For years, my nieces called me and would say, Wallace, go get a squirrel. And he would just jump up, shoo, outside. So he's used to that. Where was I? Get so lost. I need some chapstick. Okay. I know I was going. Okay, the circles. Funny thing about circles, right? This is really funny coming to me. It's just coming to me right now. Weird. So, the very first dream I had, I recorded in my bio, and I've talked about it a lot, was a dream of big bubbles or circles or toroidals or donuts crowding each other out. And I had that dream so many times. I mean, I could draw it, and I have. But I never knew what it meant. I interpreted it because I kept having it. There wasn't much more than that. But at the time that I remember it distinctly was like kindergarten. And at kindergarten, I was 5. So I had 4 siblings, or 3 maybe, and 1 on the way. And we were living with my grandma. And so 3 adults and 4 or 5 kids. And we were growing out of the house. And I don't know if that was it. That's what I thought, is that the bubbles are eating each other alive. There's too many. They're too close. This is not comfortable. There's not enough air. There's not enough space. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out. And I've not looked into what that dream was because I can't imagine what I'd look for. Bubbles eating each other up or something? I don't know. At any rate, then Amway was huge to my mom. My mom was a genius, really a creative genius. Never have I met a person with a higher degree of ADD. Oh my God, and her and I would go round and round until one day I said, Mom, I think I figured this out. Why we're killing each other. We're both so unfocused, and this isn't working well. And once we acknowledged it, she didn't necessarily believe that she was ADD. We didn't talk about that, but once we acknowledged that our behavior that we had created to help ourselves worked against the other person, which often happens in families. Boy, I could write a book on family stuff. It ain't easy. Never is it easy. Never, ever. And maybe that's why those people are given to us, like not in marriage, but given to us in connection, because sometimes that's the only way we keep them. And sometimes we don't. I've got a few that I just are on my heart that I need to do some reconciliation with, whether they're interested or not. And yeah, it's not fun stuff. You have to acknowledge who you are and who you aren't, and dig back into all that yuck. But until you dig that yuck out, it's going to be yuck. You know, we got to clean that crap out. It's not so bad once you start facing it. It's really pretty wonderful going back and looking at our alignment and our behaviors and our habits. And okay, back to the point. So I set up a system, which I have right here, if I could figure out what to do with this daggone phone, of circles. And it takes you through 12-year cycles, because everything is a cycle. Everything is a cycle. Everything. And that's a good thing to remember. I need to write that down. I'm going to find some way to deal with this phone. Okay. So everything is a cycle. It doesn't matter. Here's one of my new habits. This is to ground myself in the morning. Usually I get up at like 5:30 and walk. But I was sick. I caught a bug traveling, and it put me under a little bit for a few weeks, and I couldn't get up in the morning outside because of my lung challenges, which I've never had. Anyway, so I'm a little behind on this, but in a week or two, I'll have this mastered. To meditate, and that can be all kinds of different things for different people. You don't have to think you have to get in a yoga position and be still. There's meditations that can be done while you're walking, while you're laying down, while you're going to sleep, waking up, driving your car. There's all kinds of great ways to meditate. It's about taking a temperature of all the different parts of who we are and seeing where they are, seeing if they're level. I learned something yesterday, of course, when I was where I didn't plan to be, about water. We think that water settles, right? And that there's this, ground, but that water smooths it out. No. I just heard, and I don't know whether it was a physicist or who it was, I'm going to find out, that water actually goes with what it's on top of. That's wild. I've been taking so many pictures of water, you're going to be amazed. The physics, the science, just like clouds and rocks, there are just so many signs. Oh, nature has lessons in everything around us. We're just so preoccupied. Breathing. Oh my gosh. I've always been challenged with controlling my breathing. I was born with a big nose, which is absolutely beautiful and perfect for me. But I didn't think so, because I didn't think anything about me was right. And so I had a nose job. And my nose was just like my grandma's, and I thought she was the most beautiful person in the world. I still do. And I wish I had her nose. I have her hands. At any rate, breathe. from when I was little, I didn't breathe through my nose easily. I noticed because I was always watching people trying to see what normal people did and how I could copy it. And I noticed it's like one of those things with how people who have been raised more eloquently eat differently. They use their fork differently and all that. So something like that, right? So I would notice mouth breathers and how stupid they looked. I never wanted to look stupid, even though I really thought I probably was, in comparison to others. How do we know? We get compared in school and at home, and I was the oldest at home, and that was not effective in self-building. In some ways it was. And then in school, I just, that's just another story for another time. At any rate, I went with my friend to her plastic surgeon friend who became what I consider a dear friend of mine who's now retired, who loved the United States and Jesus, but I watched him go through the drug thing and then the Catholic thing. No, it was the Catholic thing, then the drug thing, then the Jesus thing, and then he followed truth and is probably right where I am. So I had a nose job, and it helped for a little bit, but not really, because it's just, you shouldn't try to change what's there. So I have a challenge with breathing, but breathing is so critical, and I can tell immediately when I take control of my breathing, what a world of difference. If I get anxious, I just know to breathe in and it works. We are in control of our bodies. We might not think so, but we are. Breathing, when we breathe correctly, the air gets filtered through our nose, goes in, filtered, and stimulates the right things, and then processes correctly, and then we eliminate what's not clean out of our mouth, and we have control over our breathing. When I was going for eye surgery, I was very nervous, even though I had given myself all kinds of talks, and the woman taught me to just breathe in to the count of 6, out to 5, breathe into 4, out to 3, breathe into 2, out to 1. Do it again. After a couple repetitions, I was good. We are in control if we want to be. We just have to take control. So that breathing stimulates the right areas of our pituitary gland and our pineal gland and all those things up there that work together, because everything is connected. Everything. Stretching. I can't say enough about this because I'm very active, but I know that stretching is like waking up. Stretching wakes the cells up. It's like there's a blanket right there, and it's there, but when I pick it up, it changes it. It activates it. It regenerates it. It cleans it. Movement is everything. I heard something once, fluid is, I don't know, but it basically meant if you move, you're gonna live. So stretch. don't have to do a whole big yoga thing. Just like when you're sitting there, create habits that work. I created one recently. Watch, I won't be able to find it. I keep this at my desk. I tend to get stiff in the back. And if I get up and move, which is the best thing for me to do, I'm so sidetracked. I might be baking a cake and forget you're on hold. So this helps me, and I can like keep my muscles good and just get, a little levity. Or get myself if I want. There are all kinds of ways to do it if we want it bad enough. If you don't have what you want, it's because you don't really want it. I'm sorry. That's how it is. If we want something, then that desire was created out of the originality of who we are. That desire is spiritual. And to follow that through, we have to take action. That's where we get confused. All right, now what was I saying? I saw the dog walk by. Let's see, can we go back here? We're just gonna have to move on. I totally lost that thought, thinking of something else. Here's my note to myself today. Oh, I remember. So let me go back there. There's pain of where we are, or maybe not, but if there is, we want to get out of that pain, right? So we have to make some decisions to do that. We can't just hope it. We can see it and believe it, but we have to make changes to whatever got us there. So if we went down road A and we don't want to be down road A, what do we have to do? We have to back it up. I tell stories and I forget where I am because I think of another story. Okay, I was doing the band. Okay, I got it. So, unless something is so bad that it bugs us every day, unless it's that bad, we're not going to make a change. We don't like to change. It upsets the apple cart in so many different ways. And it requires, well, it's getting the rocket off the ground. That decision with anything. I'm not. I almost said something. I've been learning to watch my words. Which is why I have this note here. Focus on foundation. Finding freedom in the situation. I'm trying to remind myself of this and to be so careful of my words because they're all powerful and because I'm building a construct and I want it to be duplicable and sustainable and effective. And I can't use negative words or have negative mind pictures and get in a good place, right? So until the thing that we don't like, that's making us miserable, that's holding us back, that's bothering us and everyone else, until that thing gets so aggravating that the cure is easier than this pain, we're not going to change. Because there's pain of change, no doubt. It's very painful to create change. It requires everything. Why? Because everything's connected. So it jerks everything. You know, it's the arm bone's connected to the leg bone or whatever. But when we change one thing, boop, 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 we're going to change a lot of things. And so we don't want that. That takes time from watching Fox News. Sorry, I shouldn't have gone there. Or takes time for voting for someone that you have no control over. Right? When I quit drinking, it was very difficult. I was the mother of an alcoholic, the daughter of an alcoholic, the granddaughter of an alcoholic, the great-granddaughter of an alcoholic, the wife of an alcoholic, and worked my butt off to get all of those people right, and then became an alcoholic. It's when you get out of balance. And I never thought it would happen. My son, who's in prison for addiction, until he was older, I never thought he would take a drink or do a drug after watching what we went through, right? But I would not have been able to quit drinking because of the escape it provided me from so much emotional pain. And it lets you hide for as long as you want to hide. The only way I quit, I'm not a groupie, so and I don't like listening to anybody. Everything I trust is found by myself. Particularly these days, I don't trust anybody. I'm sorry. When my son was young, he used to go, "You don't trust me?" And I'd say, "Absolutely not. I don't. You're human, just like me. I don't trust myself." You know, I do now, but, you know, just the Paul thing. You do as you don't want to, and you don't do what you should do. So the only way I figured it out was to change my paradigm. Just like The Road Less Traveled, where Scott Peck says, I wanted to be a mechanic. And so I tried fixing my car. And I fixed my car, but I didn't want to be a mechanic. It's the paradigm. It's not that you can't be a mechanic. It's that you didn't choose to. And so that's what I had to do with the alcohol. It wasn't, I can't have that. I can have that. But I choose not to because I see it. I see that yeast sugar poison and it going in my body. And by breaking it down and delineating the factual information, my brain could get it. And I switched and got control. When we want change, we have to really, really want it. And that's the first step. Do we want it? If we want something, we've got to begin at the beginning, where all things are created. Twice. First, up here. And then all things, whatever you want. You are the creator. You are the programmer. If it's to be, it's up to me. And if it's good for thee and me and we collectively, That's where I want to be. That's where I'm going. Enough for now. Over.